Hi, welcome to Chasing the News, Stone Cold Sober, with our guests today. First, though, I want to thank our very generous sponsors, Red Oak Recovery Programs located throughout North Carolina, which include clinically driven and gender-separate trauma-focused mental health and substance abuse treatment for young adult men ages 18 to 30, young adult women ages 18 to 35. Wow, I'm past a young adult woman, but I didn't know that 35 was young adult, but that's great. And adolescent boys ages 14 to 17. Go to redoakrecovery.com for more info. And our other sponsor, do you want to get better? Now's your chance. A new app is hitting the App Store next week called Better, an overdose prevention tool and recovery connector. Visit betterapp.ca next week to download it. This app has so many features, from live streaming home groups, 15,000 speaker tapes, to acting as a safety net for people using drugs. If there's an overdose, you can call emergency services. Perfect for a sponsee who may be using again. Okay, so we really do thank our generous sponsors. Chasing the News Stone Cold Sober is a monthly web series that features well-known sober clinicians, musicians, artists, advocates, actors in candid conversation about how they are staying emotionally and physically sober and clean during the era of Corona, Zoom, and rapid social change. Chasing the News is the brainchild of Leonard Bushell, editor, publisher of the Addiction Recovery e-Bulletin, and founder of Writers in Treatment. This month, today, we have the co-founders of In the Rooms, the first online recovery community with over 800,000 subscribers and climbing, and 130 meetings a week. Ron Tannebaum and Ken Pomerance. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you guys today?
Great to be here.
Great.
Happy to be here.
Great. Thank you for coming. Thank you for agreeing to do this. Leonard has some questions for you.
Uh-oh.
Gentlemen, how are you celebrating Earth Day today?
I'm picking up plastic all over my yard.
Okay, fantastic. And
And I'm sitting in my backyard looking at bird feeders, butterflies, and enjoying the hell out of it.
speaking, I know, Kenny, you're a photographer as a hobby and almost a profession. I was wondering if in this pandemic era, either of you took up any new hobbies or reapplied yourself to some old hobbies. So any new hobbies or just taking more photographs, Ken?
Well, I never stopped. Since my wife bought me a camera on my 24th anniversary clean, she got me a camera, and I just went out and started taking pictures of the family and landscapes. And then one day I went out into the Everglades, South Florida Everglades, and I just fell in love with all the nature out there, the wildlife, and it's how I connect with my higher power today. So yeah, it's always been an important part of my recovery, but with this pandemic, when I wasn't able to go elsewhere, then it was definitely something that I really look forward to. I see operas moving around there.
Technical difficulties today.
Live television. We'll gotta love it.
Listen,
Honestly, if there's not some issue on Zoom, then it's not really a Zoom meeting. That's what I say.
anyway, you mentioned your wife gave you a camera 24 years ago, or your 24th clean birthday. How long ago was that? And then we can do the math.
I can tell you now, I got 38 years.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And that's on one white chip. From the day
That's amazing.
The day I picked up a white chip, that was it. So, and RT too.
You too.
One white chip. Yeah.
Amazing.
You didn't have to throw up in that trash can you took to the meeting, did you?
No, I was the one that told him to bring the basket.
By the way, how long?
How did you guys meet? I mean, it sounds like you met in an NA meeting, but how did you meet?
No,
We
no.
met way before NA.
Okay. So how did you meet?
Gainesville, Florida, at the University of Florida, 1970 or 71. It's hard to
One.
put a pin on it. I don't remember. We were both in the same college of studying undergrad, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and we were on the dean's list.
I got my doctorate.
That's where we first met. Then, when a friend of mine, I was living at his house on my last leg. He said, "Either surrender or get out."
Hmm.
And this was years after. This was 1983. Actually, it was September 20th, 1983. He told me that. And the next person that walked through the door was Kenny. He said, "Do you remember Ken Pomerance from Gainesville?" I said, "Yeah, I do remember Kenny. He always had a cast on one part of his body or another." It was,
Falling
and
Camelot.
he had a cast on his wrist or his leg all the time. And he walked in, and this guy who I was with had maybe 6 months clean, and Kenny had 9 months clean. And I go, and that's the last day I used.
That's amazing.
Great, great.
So when you guys met again in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, was there a spark? Did you know that you were going to be like friends and business partners and both have
Not business partners.
goatees and
But back then, it was such a small fellowship down in South Florida where we started our recovery that everybody knew everybody. It didn't matter what end of Miami you lived in, or up even into Broward or West Palm. We knew everybody. That's what we did. Is we went from meeting to meeting, called a road trip, and would go off. And yeah, so we saw each other every night.
Okay.
That was the beauty of it, was for me, was that him and this a guy who I was living with, his name's Neil, we all went to college together, and they were clean, and we got high together, and I knew how bad they were, and I knew if they did it, I could do it.
oh,
It really was the power
So,
behind it.
was it peer pressure to get sober or
I
clean?
never had that peer
Sure.
pressure. I thought I was going to die, and I always thought I was immortal, basically, in my lifestyle and everything. And this was the one time I thought maybe I could die if I didn't do something about it. And of course, God does what I couldn't do, and put these people in my life. And it happened to be the right people, because I knew them, and I knew that they did what I did. They were just like me in a lot of ways, and they looked great, and I didn't look so great. And I definitely did not feel great. And I saw them, and they said, "Just do what we do." I actually was the first time I could ever share how I really felt kicking dope.
Mhm.
I always had to say I had the flu, or I
right.
had this.
Hmm.
These guys
Stomach
listened,
bug.
and they were laughing. They were laughing at me, and I was laughing with them. And I was in severe pain and anxiety, and I didn't know what the next minute would bring. And they eased that for me, and that's what works.
You mentioned three things that I wanna refer to. You mentioned God, death, and feeling good. So I want to ask you both, what role has spirituality played in your long-term sobriety? And especially in the last year and a half.
Well, for me, it is, when they say, "Oh, it's a spiritual part of the program," to me, the whole program is spiritual. The fact that we can get together with a bunch of dope fiends and alcoholics and love one another and not kill each other, that's spiritual, just from the base. And then everything else that we do, the struggles that we go through. It's very easy to have a strong belief in God when everything is going well, but when
Mhm.
things aren't going so well, that's when you really need to tap into that higher power, at least for me. And I've been through many obstacles in my recovery that allowed me to get closer to my higher power. So, yeah.
Mhm.
So So last year particularly was, I mean, I know you've had other health struggles and stuff, but last year was a struggle for the entire recovery community and the world. How did you double down in your spiritual program? Or did you to get through it?
I definitely did. Yeah, I did have some. I was in renal failure actually for the last 6.5 years, and I've been on dialysis for the last 2.5 years. And at the beginning, it was fine, and then over the last year has been very, very difficult. I've had some significant struggles, and every morning I'd have to meditate, get focused. What's my goal for the day? How am I going to get through it? And recovery has been the key to that. If I didn't, if I'm telling you now, if I wasn't in recovery and I didn't have a strong belief in a higher power, I wouldn't be here right now. I would have just cashed in the chips. All I had to do is go 3 days or 4 days without dialysis, and I'm dead. So it would have
Wow.
been very, and I understand it's a very peaceful death. So that's all I had to hear. And then it was every day I was, rather than committing to staying clean each day, I was also committing to staying alive. And now, just to bring it to today, I'm on a home health dialysis. I have all the machinery right in my room, and I created a nice little space for it, and I feel 100% better. But I wouldn't have known that had I not stuck with it and got to that point where it became an option.
Well, I wish we knew the name of that dialysis machine. We would have asked them to be a sponsor of the show.
Next stage.
Okay. Ronnie, what about you and your spiritual program
Yeah,
practices?
I agree with Kenny in a lot of ways. I always say the whole my whole recovery has been a spiritual path. Even starting in the rooms was a spiritual endeavor. But I tell I sponsor 15 men, and I tell all of them that recovery is an inside job. It's not about your head. It's not about thinking how you can do it. Yeah, I've seen many people who are very intelligent think their way into a casket. It's an inside job for me. It's all about a spiritual thing, and I and what happens is the transformation in me has been extraordinary in the past 30 years.
Sorry,
If you
guys.
knew who I was,
Wow.
if you knew who I was back, how people say in the day, and in the day I was a different character, and
In the day was really in the night.
in the day and night I was this. I lived in South Florida. All you got to do is picture it in the 70s, early 70s in
Mm-hmm.
South Florida.
Yeah.
And I ended up in recovery. So that path from those years, from 1970 to 83, what I did in South Florida, you've seen it on TV, you've seen it in movies. And then when I came into recovery, I had nothing. And so I had to
Mhm.
find that spiritual presence, which I didn't at first. And the story how I first prayed is this guy who I lived with who brought me into recovery. I walked in, I was a few months clean, and he had a needle in his arm in the apartment we were living in. And I called
Oh.
his sponsor, and I said, "What do you do? What do I do?" I wanted to shoot some dope with him, and and he said, "Pray for him." And I did. I said, "I don't pray. I'm a Jew. I don't hit my knees." What do you do? He says, "I'm a Jew." The guy was a doctor. He said, I'm a Jew, and I hit my knees, and you pray for him, not about you." And I had to get over that too in early recovery, which is part of the spirituality that I found here. And I prayed for the first time in my life a real prayer, and I felt all this warmth inside of me. That's why I say it's an inside job. I've never stopped praying
We
since.
might end the session with the Lord's Prayer.
Well, we used to end our meetings with the Lord's Prayer when I first got clean, and that changed to whatever the group wants, a serenity prayer, but not the
Mhm.
Lord's Prayer. I don't really remember why that was, But I have no problem with any prayer in any language, in any religion. I, uh, I just don't. You know, you got to understand something. I married this beautiful Italian woman, Catholic. I'm a Jew, and we light our Hanukkah candles by the glow of our Christmas tree. And we're
I get
both in
that.
recovery. My wife has 36 years of long-term recovery, and we practice spirituality in our family. So it's not something we call on at certain times. It's something we thrive on all the time.
It's,
Great.
that's beautiful. That's
So we're wondering, and we're going to flip around here a little from the serious to like, have you found yourselves in the pandemic doing any more self reflecting or going inward? Any more meditation? And then we're going to ask you about what's your favorite TV series or Netflix show. But have you found going within has been a little easier during the pandemic because we're not, you know, we don't have 1,000 choices of things to do and places to go.
You know, I don't think that I did anything really differently other than not leaving. I think what happened is I got closer with my wife because, unfortunately, because of my medical issues, she couldn't socialize either. And it was just the two of us, and it brought us closer. So, from that standpoint, I didn't really do anything differently. Although, what I missed the most about this past year was hugs. You
yeah.
know, I'm a hugging fool. I love giving big hugs, whether you want one or not. And and we just couldn't, so that was like, I never realized what a loss that is and how much I enjoyed hugging. At our home group, for instance, we would, uh, Ronnie and I share the same home group. I've been going to it for 32 years now. And we would get hugs before walking into the meeting. Just everybody was hugging everybody. And I would always think by the time I sat down and the meeting started, I was already healed. I already felt so much better by seeing everybody. And so many of those people have between 35 and 40 years clean. We grew up together in recovery. So there was just something about missing those hugs. And we still have an online meeting with those same people. They show up every Friday night, but it's missing that magic, the hugging, that connection. And when I got clean, I wanted nothing to do with hugging. I was not a hugger back then. And it took a long time to get comfortable with that. And but that's the number one thing for me that I miss.
Ron, are you a hugger?
Oh, yeah, I'm a major hugger. I'm a major people person. You know that,
I do know that, absolutely.
right? I miss that. The people, um, going out to eat with my friends and just breaking bread. Like Kenny says to me, the meeting before the meeting is the essence of recovery. I mean, it's before you, and the meetings are great. And after the meetings, we all go out to eat a lot of times. But before the meeting, it's like, it's Friday night for one thing. So it's at the end of the week. And no matter how bad the week is, before I sit down also in our reserve seats, have you ever told a newcomer, you walk into a meeting that you've gone to for over 30 years and some newcomer is sitting in your seat, right? That's where spirituality comes in. In the front row. And yeah, so I miss that a lot. But I don't know if I did anything more. I tried to stay in my routine because that's what really keeps me sane. As I wake up every day and that's what changed. I used to go to the gym to spin, and I bought a Peloton because I couldn't go to the gym, which is much better for me, except for the people. I like the competition of the people in a spinning class.
Yeah.
I get off the bike, I read my book that I read in the morning, an Alan Cohen daily meditation book. I pray and I meditate every day. Um, and then I get cleaned up. I have a good breakfast, and I go into my office in my house, just like I would go into our office that we had, a regular office, but we gave that up when the pandemic started. Um, Dressed for my day, which is like this. We don't really dress. I use, shorts and a in the room shirt or something. And I go into my office like it's a regular day. So I kept that routine over
Yeah.
this past year. I baked a few challahs. I baked some sourdough bread. I cooked some Indian food. I expanded my horizons on cooking and things that I left. Reading, all my little hobbies, reading, cooking. But I did lose track of my Kundalini yoga for the most part because the online Kundalini classes are nothing like going to my wife's Kundalini classes that she taught. It's just totally different. And I miss that.
Mm-hmm.
You're quite the Renaissance man. Kundalini yoga, cooking, baking
My
challah.
wife's a Kundalini teacher, so I went to support her in her classes, and I loved it. Just because I like the meditation and the gong relaxation. But but I did love it.
She strikes a mean gong, Phyllis.
Yeah, she can gong them up.
Right, from bong to gong. So I know you're both people, but when you want to be alone by yourselves and get out of the house, do you have a special place you go? Where do you go? Do you walk on the beach? What do you do when you want to be alone? Where do you go?
I watch the sunrise a couple times a week, at least. And I go to the beach usually. But even when I go out to shoot pictures, I'm out before the sunrise. And that's my happy place. That's my happy place, being out in nature. There's just nothing like it for me. So
Nice.
And I go to a movie on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a movie fanatic. Now I miss that too. I miss the big screen because I like to go in the afternoon by
Right.
myself and see movies that my wife wouldn't see, right? And there's no one in the theater.
Yeah.
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 I just love that, and I could see a movie a day. Now I'm seeing movies on Amazon Prime, but then now HBO Max has all the first run movies. It's not the same.
No, it's not.
I cook organic, great popcorn here. Sit in front of. I have a 70-inch screen, and it's not the same.
My son and I went to the movie theater last week for the first time, and it was just the two of us in the whole theater. It was a fairly large theater, and he took a row and I took a row, and we just chatted during the movie like we were in our living room. It was fantastic. But just being back in the theater is like a temple. It's where you go to have someone else's dreams in your head. I love it too. That's my drug of choice. That's why I started the Real Recovery Film Festival and Symposium, which is now 13 years old. We do a week in New York and a week in LA. We show 80 films during the week. And that has become my drug of choice. I will literally Jones for the film experience. And it's not quite the same on my monitor, which is only this big, but it's nice to, stories and mysteries and comedies. It's one of the great art forms of our modern era. Thank God for movies.
Ronnie and I are both huge fans of.
I say thank God for foreign films. I wouldn't want to live if all I had were Hollywood movies.
So that's
Anyway,
that's a good segue into one of my favorite questions. What are you guys watching, or what has been your favorite pandemic series, movie?
000.
Yeah,
Very good.
too tough. I couldn't handle it.
yeah,
I don't. The violence and the brutality, and having been a drug dealer, I don't like to see violence in the drug dealing industry. Although I know it's a lot of what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah, nothing like Anyway, I was going to talk about Big Pharma and the Sackler family. I don't even want to go. Movies. Let's talk about good subjects.
Well,
Yes, but what are you watching other than 000, which I know a lot of people probably aren't familiar with, and I'm sure it's great.
Great.
I'm sure it's great.
There was another Italian series, and I forget the name. It was at the and it was all in Italian. It wasn't like 00, but it was,
Uh-huh.
I thought was phenomenal about this small town outside of Naples and the people in it in the 50s and then 60s,
oh,
and it, watched them grow up. And
Well,
I just like good shows. I like good movies. I love good stories. I like good books. You know, Kenny
mhm.
and I are both avid readers. It's hard to keep track of the books that we are. I call him up and say, what are you reading? So because the titles sort of all blend into each other.
Do you both know
I
the
go
names
through.
of Amazon delivery people by now? You must see your Amazon guy or girl every other day.
Oh yeah. And now with this home dialysis, I've got trucks pulling up with pallets full of. The last pallet was over 1,000 pounds of
oh my God.
supplies for my dialysis. So between that and the Amazon guy, we're got
Come.
lots of people to visit. But you know what? You mentioned about watching videos. Uh, I got into binging. You know, I would go
Yeah,
back and watch. I went back and watched Boardwalk Empire from the start.
love that show.
You know, I mean, there are so many great shows. The Sopranos. You know, I just enjoyed going through and binging. And even though I'd seen them before years earlier, I was picking up nuances that I never caught. Um, yeah, so I've really enjoyed that binging. Now that we're busier and we're going out more often, we're not we're not
Mhm.
binging quite as much. But although I'm watching Brotherhood right now, I'd never heard of it. It was a Showtime series. Also, everything with drug dealing and you know, organized crime in Providence, Rhode Island.
Mhm.
But it is brutal. You know, a lot of brutal violence in it, but so accurate, scary accurate. It's caused. I've had a couple nightmares already, but it is really something to see.
It's on Showtime.
It's
It
where am I
was
watching? It's on Hulu now.
Oh, okay. Do I want
Yeah,
to watch
it's
it?
on
Yeah, it
Hulu,
sounds
but it was
right up my alley.
it, yeah. Oh, it is. Trust me on this. It is excellent. The acting, the writing.
Sounds
Uh,
interesting.
I'm more of a Queen's Gambit kind of guy.
love that.
Mystery, you know.
That was great.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Okay.
Loved it.
Sure. Sure. Uh, so, why don't we talk about?
Do you guys ever go back and watch shows that you've seen before just to pick up, you know, things that you didn't pick up
I
the
think
first time?
Mad
Ever
Men was.
rewatch?
I like Mad Men a lot. I thought that's a
Yeah.
classic. And 6 Feet Under.
Oh,
Uh,
great.
Great series, I think.
It,
Uh,
if I'm rewatching something, it's usually with my daughter because she's just discovered it. But I am able to go back and rewatch episodes of Law and Order SVU seemingly forever. I seem to
My
have no
wife does that.
problem rewatching those. Yeah, that's sort of like a happy place.
Yeah.
Currently, I'm
I
watching
don't.
The Men Who Created America, The Men Who Made America, like Carnegie and Edison and uh, J.P. Morgan and the guy who invented who brought railroads into America. Anyway, so they created the industrial America industrial. You guys created something online that has stood the test of time. And you mentioned in our promo about when you said, let's do a Facebook for people in recovery, uh, way before what we've using so much of in this last year. Could you tell us how the In the Rooms format is different and possibly superior to Zoom?
Ronnie, you take that one.
once I can. um, and in this journey that we took, believe me, it's been a journey. And you know, we've been friends for 12 years. We started our platforms at the same time and supported each other since.
Right.
We're the only three still standing, you know. So from back then, but Kenny came in with that idea about Facebook for recoveries because our daughters were on MySpace at the time and just going into Facebook. And actually, you saw on that film a board, a science board with magic marker on it. That was our first flow chart that I used the back of my daughter's used science board. And we did a flow chart the first night that we were talking about how we would build a recovery community online that transcended the boundaries of all 12-step fellowships socially, but maintained the individual personalities of AA, NA, OA, GA, SLAA, whatever it was. We have 40 fellowships on our site right now. Build a social community, and were people ready for it? And we said, well, we think people are ready to have recovery at home in every nook and cranny of the world, because this is global. This isn't a local site, and help us, you know, get this off track. And we started building it 13 years ago. And everyone didn't agree with that. Most people didn't agree with that. Most people, we went out to California, actually. Kenny's ex-business partner, is one of them's his cousin, had come out and they wanted to hear our pitch, what we were trying to do. These guys were startup guys. Many bought and sold their startups a few times, very successful guys, and were into what we were doing. And we went out there and I pitched it like I always pitch it, with the flow chart, a new flow chart that was printed out, not our logo, different colors, different look, same flow chart. But this is before we launched our site, and they were there to tell us, we found after we gave them the presentation, that this is not going to work. This is a stupid idea. Don't do it. And so
it was my former partner was the one that he says, okay, come on out here, we'll listen to you. But he brought in this other guy, and his goal, his job was to say, don't do it. He didn't want us wasting our time and effort. It would never work. So go run.
So I, as I'm giving them my spiel on all of this stuff, they were very uptight guys, straight faces. I was giving them my spiel. Little by little, they start sitting back and smiling, and they're looking at each other. They go, God damn it, this thing's gonna work. They said, so we look at each other, we give each other a high five, and we got to work. We met some people. I thought this was such a spiritual path that every doors opened for us that we couldn't have opened up with our shoulder at full speed, because of I don't believe we've ever told people about our concept and our idea. Anyone said, you know, that's a lousy idea, you know, to help people and to give people recovery online and have live online meetings all day and all night in 136 countries. That's where we're at today. And so we launched, we actually got some equity money from a partner, and they were
Ronnie, tell them how we met with the partner, with the equity partner.
We were at our friend's mother's funeral, and I'm sitting there, and a guy.
Great for networking.
We didn't want to go. We did not want to go the whole way up there.
After, actually, I heard they were going to have some good chopped liver on the cemetery. But a guy taps me on the shoulder in the funeral home during the service, and he goes, "Hey, Ronnie, how you doing?" And it was this guy that I went to Hebrew school with. I hadn't seen him in years and years and years, and but I heard he was the CFO. He was the CPA, and I knew, and I had seen him, you know, when I first got in recovery. He was a partner of a friend of mine in recovery, and he said. So he was a CFO of these guys who had a big tech presence, 400 tech guys working for him. And he said, "What are you doing?" And I told him, he goes, "Here's my business card, call me up. Don't look for any more equity people." And we finally, after months and months, these guys bought into it, and they their tech team built our sites to our specifications. We met some South Beach hotshot advertising people, changed our colors, changed our logo, and we started all over again. And we had said, let's put it up. Let's tell 20 people to go on the site when it was done to see how it is. And the next thing we know, we had 400 people who, people in recovery, they can't keep their mouth shut. So these 20 people told 20 people, and they told their best friend, don't tell anybody, but
don't say it.
Right.
Before you know it, there were 400 people. So this tech team that we had to go, well, when are we going to launch the beta? They go, we already launched the beta. Let's launch this thing with 400 people on it. And we never stopped since.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really amazing.
But
How long did it take?
Technology for online virtual meetings was on our flow chart, but the technology was not there yet. But 9 years ago, in partnership with a tech company out in the Silicon Valley, we built our own proprietary video platform, our tech guys, with them. And we've had online meetings for 9 years. And the difference is, you want to tell them the difference, Kenny? Between us?
The difference is, first of all, we were not sure about online meetings. Because of what we enjoy about meetings is the close personal nature of meetings and hugging and looking people in the eyes. And I, for one, never thought that people would be emotional and show vulnerability in an online meeting. I never thought that in a million years. And what we found out immediately is people were pouring their hearts out on the internet. We're behind a firewall, so we're encrypted behind a firewall. So anything you see in the rooms, you won't see anywhere else. So they are protected in a sense, but these are people that are pouring their hearts out because they're in their comfort zone. They're in their bedroom. They're in their living room in their comfy chair, and sharing with total strangers around the world how they're feeling.
Well, there's there's like a certain level of anonymity by sharing.
Exactly.
And
you're not go ahead.
Sorry, you're not going to run into the person necessarily at your next meeting.
Yeah, and the difference is this too, is Zoom is a meeting platform. You go to your meeting and you see everybody, the free for all, I call it. You see 30 people on each page or whatever it is, and there's 5 pages in the meeting, and that's how it goes. And you see people eating. I wonder what Sue's eating. Hey, look at Bill, has a pimple on his forehead. Look at you're looking at people's faces, trying to more personalities. On our site, they're not home group meetings, they're global meetings. So this morning, like our 10 a.m. AA meeting, there's 65 AA meetings a week in the rooms. And they have a home group called Global Steps AA. Yes. There was 445 people in the meeting at the time, and it's global. So you're not going in there to see all your homies. They're homies to people now, but these are people in those 136 countries. Some of them are in bathrobes, some of them are in hospital beds with oxygen. You always see a mother or two with kids running around in their house because they can't afford a babysitter to go to a meeting. And these are every day at the same time, 65 meetings a week. And we mimic a 12-step meeting, which is a chairperson, then a big screen in the middle for whoever's sharing. And then over here, we have a box for people who raise their hand. You see all 9 of them. We call it the Brady box because the Brady Bunch. And the chairperson brings them in one at a time. So, but everyone else is underneath. You only see their avatar or picture of their membership in the room, but you can IM them in the meeting to say, hey, I like what you had to share. You can click on their avatar and it takes you to their profile page during the meeting. So but there's only one person you're seeing at a time, basically sharing.
Right.
So, and it was the whole point is it was designed to mimic the meeting.
Yeah.
As opposed to Zoom, which has been, adapted for recovery meetings. And we designed it for that purpose.
Ours is a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week community. We have discussion boards. We have groups, we have meetings, of course. We have all these different, a newsletter every week. We have
You
a
have
movie,
a
a real
monthly movie of
recovery
the,
movie
yeah,
every week.
yes,
We love our movie.
Saturday Recovery Summit every month with
right.
3 addiction specialists for free. We just have all different kinds of functionalities that Zoom is a meeting platform. Ours is a community.
Yes, yours is absolutely a community.
It must be very helpful in the rooms to people who live in small towns where there aren't the abundance of meetings there are in LA or New York, or in other countries where maybe even AA hasn't quite taken a foothold yet. So how many different countries how many people from other countries are active on a weekly basis? I'd love to
I don't
know.
know how many people, but about 10% of our 800,000 people are international. And it's
Wow.
136 countries. We have some people in Saudi Arabia in their secrecy that are on.
Oh, right.
They
That's
secretly
amazing.
drank and now they're secretly sober.
Right. Right.
So it's great because and you're right, but it's not only international. In this country, we're lucky. You're in LA, we're in South Florida. There's hundreds of meetings a week, and in these other places, even before the pandemic, they had 1 meeting a week. They might have to drive 50, 75 miles to another meeting, and this is much better for them.
Before the pandemic, the busiest meetings we ever had were doing nor'easters, where everybody during that storm Sandy, I'm
Right.
telling you, we were inundated, and people were. It was like their lifeline to not just recovery, sanity, and we were totally inundated.
Have you added more meetings during the pandemic?
We've added more meetings, and we've added 15 minutes to every meeting, an hour and 15 minutes, because of so many people are in the meeting.
Wow,
The
that's
more
great.
people can share, and we try to be very attuned to what they need, and it's really
You're very
Okay.
hands-on with the
we're very
Oh, yeah.
hands-on, yeah.
Do you allow snacking during the meetings, and have your eating habits changed since the pandemic started?
Some meetings will say no snacking, no smoking or vaping.
Mm-hmm.
I never got that, but if the group votes on it, then that's the way it is. As far as eating, first of all, I'm down at least 50 pounds from that damn movie.
Oh
I'm telling you,
yeah,
that
yes,
movie,
I noticed
yeah,
that for
I
sure.
mean, I was thinking, holy moly, I was fat. Just a little renal failure cleared that up, and but also I'm locked in with my wife, and she keeps me under control. So I couldn't bring in food from anywhere without her knowing about it. She was there.
Ronnie's not bringing over the challah?
No, I cook. I cook
Mhm.
almost every
Me
night,
too.
and I haven't been out of control on eating. Actually, I pulled back on my ice cream addiction. I have these fail safes, and I put these fail safes in now, so I'm not so overboard on my Haagen-Dazs and Ben and Jerry thing. Only if they're BOGO, if they're 2 for 1, will I buy a pint of ice cream. So I get 2, and I won't buy them because I won't eat as much. And at 10 o'clock at night, when I want a bowl of ice cream, I'm not going to drive out usually, to get a Blizzard or something from Dairy Queen. But
That
but
feels a little.
I
That
mean,
starts to feel a little addictive when you're driving out in the middle of the night to get your fix, no matter what it is.
yeah.
There's that part in chapter 5 where it says we have to let go of all our old ideas in the AA Big Book, which is what I'm more familiar with. What have you had to let go of this past year? In terms of thinking or your concept about the world, about your place in the world, or just, stuff in the house
yeah.
because you were hanging out there so long you needed to make more space.
Or activities like going to the local movie theater. Yeah.
Oh, Well,
What else
without
have
a doubt, yeah. It's anything involving, getting together with our friends. That was such a part of our life. You know, what I used to love doing is going and hitting different meetings, going back down south
Yeah.
to where I got clean, and we had to let all that go. I, couldn't be around anybody. And, it's funny. One of the things that I'm thinking about the pandemic is what the newcomer, I can't get the newcomer out of my head because, like Ronnie said, we were so lucky. We were blessed. When we got clean, we hung on. If we missed a meeting, there'd be voices on our tape machine at home saying, "Where are you? Are you okay?" Just missing a single meeting. Well, the Zoom meetings and in the rooms, they can't do that. That's why it's so important to have not just a meeting, community. And I stay on, I know Ronnie does too. We talk to people all the time. In the middle of the night, I'll get up and check in the rooms, and there's somebody, "Oh, are you up?" And they just need to talk to somebody. They're new in recovery and have questions, and they don't want to bother anybody, but if you're there, they'll bother you. They'll ask questions, and that's what I can't get it out of my head, how people are even in recovery during this time. They're not getting that meeting after the meeting, where that's really where our recovery came from, and they're missing out on that. So
But
we're trying to make up for it. Go ahead.
there are people staying clean though. There
Oh
are
yeah.
people who are
Oh
celebrating
yeah.
a year. It's like a miracle.
Oh
We
yeah.
have
No,
a
we got
burn
lots of them.
desire button.
Uh-huh.
Burning
I
a
saw that
desire.
because I was on a meeting yesterday. I was on two.
Mhm.
Yeah, two AA meetings, and I saw the burning desire button.
So people will push that on their page, and a red banner goes across the top of their page that says they're, in need. And also on the home page, it'll show their avatar under the burning
I
desire.
love that.
Turns red.
And people,
You
yeah,
would be
go ahead.
shocked at how many people come to their aid. You would,
Mhm.
I always go on and say, "What's going on?" And there's 18 people before me already on it,
Mhm.
on them.
Mhm.
You're okay. You don't have to pick up, I am me. You can private message, you can instant message on our site, you can make comments, you can do all kinds of types of communication. And it's so great to see that in a virtual setting. But I have a different sort of take. I think the newcomer, as our newcomers are younger and younger as years go by. I mean, I know I got clean when I was 33. Because if someone when I was 32 said, "You have a problem," I would have laughed and said, "No, you got a problem," But I wasn't ready. But now we see the ages are younger and younger with people entering the rooms, all rooms. And they are so comfortable with a virtual platform.
Yes, they are.
And they
Absolutely.
don't really they rather, a lot of them, we've spoken to them, they rather
Yeah.
come in and, as Kenny says, dip their toe in the water and see what recovery is like first, without having, at a treatment center, they go, "Hey, Billy, you're going back to Oshkosh tonight. I want you to go to an AA meeting tonight, raise your hand and say you need help." And Billy's going, "No way am I going into a meeting and raising your hand." He's 19, he's 21. They much rather come on in the rooms, and they can be anonymous until they're ready to share in a meeting. They can listen to a meeting, they can watch a meeting, they can go to many meetings and test them out, which ones they like, which ones they don't, without having to put themselves out there because they're afraid. And then all of a sudden,
And
they
that,
don't even
yeah.
put up a picture. They don't even put up their real name on our site. You can stay as anonymous as you
Yeah.
choose on In the Room. You can put up an avatar. You can call yourself the Marquis de Sade if you want to do it. You don't have to put up your.
That's taken already.
I knew that was his idol.
Leonard.
So they can come on here, and then all of a sudden, if we stay in touch with some of these people, you see a week, 10 days later, their picture goes up. And then they put up their status for the day. "I'm going to my first AA meeting tonight. I'm so excited." So it's a process. It's a process, and it works. Although, you know, we grew up hugging and seeing people. These young people are getting comfortable with this. And listen, recovery is never going to be the same. The world is never going to be the same in this respect. Online meetings are here to stay. We've had them for 9 years, and people I always say, "Hey, come on! You can't get to a meeting. Come on in there." No, I'm a face-to-face meeting person.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not going to go online, you know. And then all of a sudden, they're all Zooming, you know, because there is no face-to-face. So it's funny what happened. But
What's interesting is that I know a lot of people who have time and have not gone to maybe more than, more than one or two meetings a month over the past pandemic time because over the past year, because they will not go on Zoom. And then you have people who are newcomers and they have to jump right into it.
right,
I went to it's not my first, but I went to an in-person meeting last night. It's the first one I've been to that was inside. And we shared from the podium, and it was a little uncomfortable sharing from the podium, but on the other hand, walking in and sitting down in an AA meeting, it was like getting back on a bicycle. It was like I had not missed a beat over
right.
this past over a year. It felt so natural. Even the masks, even we had to wipe everything down, but that's being of service. All of
One of
that
the
being of
things
service.
one of the things that I think is going to change, I've noticed we have a sponsee group. Our sponsor has a whole slew of guys that he sponsors, and we've been meeting every Tuesday night and from around the country. And we're going to keep on doing this. This has been something that we only used to get together once a year for a gathering, a retreat, a spiritual retreat of sorts. And but here we're get together every Tuesday night. I sit out on my patio, I have a cigar, I relax with the guys. It's apt. It feels like we're there, and it's something that we've all seemingly got more and more comfortable with over the year of having that contact, and we've all decided we're going to keep on doing this.
Well, and there are people who met. I have a sponsee in Massachusetts. My sponsee has a sponsee in New Orleans because we have that ability to do that. I don't. We have technical difficulties again. My phone just keeps dying.
That's all right.
Apparently. So I know that we have a couple of, well, one's not a question, one is just a wonderful
What?
comment. It says from Diane Thaler. She says, "I'm here to say that ITR is more than wonderful. I have done service, created a women's group, and stayed in recovery since 2011. My date is January 20th, 1990. Thank you, Ken, and thank you, Kenny and RT." So, people love you.
It's fan mail.
They love you.
I'm
Little
going to
fan
tell
mail.
you a story. Oh, go
Yeah.
ahead, Leonard. It's your
No,
show.
that for me, the most valuable part of the pandemic is that I have a home group that I love. I love AA meetings. And what I realized when they were all shut down was the purpose of being sober is not so you can go to an AA meeting. The purpose of being sober is to live a sober life and have all the promises come true and be a healthier person and a better citizen. I don't stay sober so I can go to meetings. As much as I love meetings, the sobriety, it's an inside job, and it's for our lives to be enriched. And the meetings is just the cherry on the cake, but the sober lifestyle, even without the meetings, is the cake.
Yes.
So I can go without a cherry for a year, and I'll look forward to getting back to it.
I totally agree with that. For me, here's this guy walks into recovery, single, 33 years old. I lost everything and I had everything that I thought was important, And what I realized is none of that was important. What I have now is important. In recovery, I met my wife. I knew her before recovery. We got high together, but then I got clean. Then she got clean. We got married. We had kids. Anyone who would a few years before that would ever think I would get married they would tell you, I'll bet as much money as I have against that. I got married. We have a girl and a boy, 29 and 28 years old, have never seen either of us pick up a drink or a drug in their life. They're two and Kenny has the same exact story almost.
Same story.
As that. And we introduced Kenny to his wife. My wife and I introduced Kenny to his wife. And he's been married 3-4 months longer than me. But
he had to get married because I got married. That's the truth.
He got engaged. He forced me to get engaged in two, So our kids are just wonderful. Not that they're regular kids, but how I watch them treat people and hug people and talk about things from their heart rather than from their head to people. And it's just amazing to me. That's the sober life you're talking about. That's important to me. That's clean life, sober life. I don't care what people call it, but I am blessed to have the life that I have today. I am the most grateful man that I know besides Kenny. That's what we did.
What am I, an ingrate?
No, but all of us actually have that attitude of gratitude. I wake up in the morning grateful for what I have. I don't have everything that I want. I don't have that black Ferrari sitting in my driveway that I always wanted to have. But I'll tell you, I have a life beyond my wildest dreams since I've gotten into recovery. And I never thought my life would be like that.
It's not a promise that's written about in the books, but when my son was 20 years old, he went to a rehab for a month and hasn't used or drank since. That was 20 years ago. And I didn't give that gift to my mother until she saw me sober for 7 years. But before that, every time her phone rang, she figured it was the police or a hospital calling or the coroner. And for my son, every New Year's, every night, I'm so grateful he's not sticking pills in his mouth or drinking and driving. It's one of the greatest gifts, I've ever been given. And I remember years ago telling him, one day I'm going to have to stop dealing drugs. And he says, but I like you home all the time. I said, no, he says, don't worry, you're never going to get popped. He knew the language. And then for him to give me the gift of his sobriety is just as precious as my own. It's really been great. And I just want to say, when people say, what's my Chinese year? What year was I born? I always say, I was born in the Chinese year of the chameleon. And I grew this goatee because I knew we were going to have this session today. And I'm wondering if I get to shave it off now.
You look good in it.
Albert thinks I look distinguished. We could take a poll.
Yeah, very distinguished.
Okay, but I don't look like me, and I love being me because I'm a sober man who just has enjoyed this. I've been reborn. We've all been reborn in recovery. It's a miracle, and I don't give away miracles that often, especially when it's my own. We got another comment from the chat room.
Yeah, so hi from Vancouver Island. Captain Bill said the boys. I don't know, do you know Captain Bill? Okay.
We know Captain Bill.
All right. ITR rocks from Walt P. Thank you, Kenny and Ron. And don't shave from our friend Perry Gagurtis.
I swear, I read it. I thought it said don't share. And I'm thinking, why? Did I say something wrong? It says don't shave. Okay, Perry. I won't.
We went to just a little anecdote. A few years ago, we went to the concert that was in DC, the recovery concert.
Yeah. Steve Tyler played.
Yeah.
But the most rewarding thing, and we had a great time there, but the most rewarding thing is we had a tent, with our dear friend Tommy Rosen and Nikki Myers, but people came into our tent that we knew for years, never met them in person. We only knew their picture.
Little icon.
And they,
pretty, yes.
100 of them came in there. We have pictures with them, and just to see, we knew them intimately, but never met them. And that's the beauty.
Amazing.
How you can communicate in a virtual setting if you choose to. We really cemented a lot of relationships on that weekend just by that feeling of seeing each other and hugging and talking.
Hugging.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be hugging again. We're gonna be
Yeah, we're gonna be hugging soon.
group hugs are coming again.
I haven't been to a face-to-face meeting in a year, and
Neither.
I miss that a lot.
There's an outdoor one near
I
us
go
that
in the morning.
yeah, we both go to sometimes.
Yeah, but I need to start. You know, they're opening
Yeah.
up little by slowly.
They're opening
Mhm.
up little by little here too. It's very
I'm
exciting.
vaccinated. We're all vaccinated, so
Hey, it's the way to go. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, well, it's 2:00. Leonard, you always ask for some final words.
Oh,
Just wanna-
in a word or a short phrase, what would you tell the newcomer? You know, if not advice, something inspirational or advice.
Stay. That's it. Stay until it makes sense. That's what I
Okay.
tell people. Give it some time and until
What's
it
your
makes
favorite?
sense.
What's your favorite cliche or bumper sticker?
My
Like
favorite-
mine is, it's easier to stay sober than it is to get sober.
I say commit yourself to 90 days. If you don't like it, we'll refund your misery.
Right. I love that one too.
Brilliant, brilliant. It takes 90 days for your brain circuitry to rewire, and now this is the new you.
It took me a lot longer than 90 days. I think my
In
brain
Kundalini-
circuitry
in
is still
Kundalini-
rewiring.
In Kundalini yoga, they said it takes 40 days to create a habit. To create
Yes.
a habit, you know,
Yeah.
if you meditate, they have four. That's why they have 40-day meditations. So if you do it for 40 days, it becomes a mantra.
Mhm.
It becomes
Mhm.
Yeah.
part of your daily routine. So 90 days is over twice as much. That give us 90 days. It took me longer. I mean, I didn't use, but it took me a lot longer than 90 days to get comfortable.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
And for me, I think the program is all about acceptance, and that's been something that I've really tapped into over this last year. With my health issues, with everything, it's like I'm powerless. I got to accept it, and that makes everything easier once you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Acceptance is the answer.
Patience, man. Over the past year, patience. It's all going to be okay. Just do your thing. Wait it out.
Well, we got a lot of comments in the chat room, but they're all just thank you, thank you, thank you. So, a pleasure, you guys. We'll be in Florida for our Fort Lauderdale Film Festival next year.
Yes,
We'll be
we
back.
will. Yes,
All
Yes.
right.
we're in.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
And
we
there's-
are in.
I hope so.
Great. I would love to do it too. We're
Yeah.
trying to get to doing in-person film festivals around the country
Oh.
again. Very excited about it. And thank you guys for hosting the film once a month.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And
We love it.
You know that you're a sponsor. I've been there. I've been to Red Oak, your sponsor.
Uh-huh, you have?
Oh
The
yeah.
most magnificent place. A friend of ours is the founder of Red Oak. A friend from South Florida, a friend of Kenny and mine, Jack Klein.
Yeah, he says
He
hi.
just said
We
he
know
just
that.
sent his regards.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
he did.
I love-
Yes.
you know,
And he's from Philadelphia, where I'm from. So there's a connection. The sober fellowship is just a very special thing to be part of.
You don't look like an alcoholic, though.
Neither do you guys.
I know. Well, that's the funny thing. Who does?
You see, you go to some meetings, you see people who
Oh yeah.
they could be
Oh, yeah.
sober 35 years. They still look a little
Yeah.
it's nice to clean up, be able to
Okay.
clean up. All right. Well, thank you guys again. You go to www.intherooms.com and sign up if you haven't already. It is a wonderful online recovery community. Not like Zoom, it's an actual recovery community. Thanks again, you guys. And we will see you in the virtual world
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
in the real world.
Thank
and in the real world, I hope.
Okay. Take care,
Bye.
guys. Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Thanks.
Bless you.